And good morning, everyone. Today's question for you is, what do you see through the eyes of your dog? Maybe you don't have a dog, but you know someone who has a dog. And if you know someone like me, who not only has a dog, but whose dog is a member of the family, I will tell you, if you don't like sitting in dog hair, don't come and visit me. You know, there is a unique perspective of saying, what does the dog think? Today, on Nurturing Big Ideas today, with Yvonne, DiVita, myself, I'm really delighted to have Victoria Schade here, who is a dog trainer, an author, and a speaker. We're going to talk about her book a little bit later. But Victoria, thank you so much for being on Nurturing Big Ideas today. I'm just over the moon because this is a conversation I enjoy. I run a business, but you know what? I really love my dog too. Yeah. And I really feel like people like you are so necessary. Tell us what brought you to this place in your life, and tell us who you have in your life.
Oh, this little cameo camera hog right here. This is Millie. She's 9 years old. She's a smooth Brussels Griffon. She is a model extraordinaire. She knows how to hold a pose, as you can see. Yeah, but she's getting restless, so she's going to say goodbye for now. Okay, so the question was, how did I get to this point in my life? Well, I guess the first question back to you is which point, because like all women, there's a lot going on, a lot of different things that I'm working on. So if we're talking about the dog training specifically, it was a strange journey. It kind of started, we were chatting beforehand, it was a bolt of lightning moment where I had been in the corporate world, was doing well in the corporate world. I was in sales and high-tech sales in Northern Virginia, which is like the East Coast tech hub. Yeah, I mean, I was doing really well. And one day I woke up and I said, this isn't a fit. You know, even though I'm in sales, it's the most entrepreneurial corporate job you can have because you're kind of your own boss. I'm like, I need more. I need more freedom. And I don't know where it came from, but this bolt of lightning moment happened where I just woke up one day, I was sitting at my computer, and it was, be a dog trainer. I'd never even been to a dog training class. I'd never set foot in a dog training class. I did have a dog, and I'd always...
I was going to say, did you at least have a dog?
Yeah, you know, I'd always been the unofficial trainer in my family for all of the dogs, kind of self-taught. So I, followed this hunch, did lots of research, which is going to be a theme in this conversation. Research is everything.
Awesome.
Talked to a lot of great people, some people that were wonderfully nurturing, and some people that when I reached out to them for help, one woman in particular, I will never forget, English accent, she said, there is no money in dog training. And I'm like, well, why are you doing it? Why have you been doing it for 25 years? You do So I didn't let that naysayer stop me, and I apprenticed, and here we are 20 years later.
It's amazing. I had people in my family who said, you can't be a writer. Why would you be a writer? You'll never make any money. The thought to me when they said that was, but I'm not doing it to make money. Because I have to do it. I'm a writer. And
right.
I felt, perhaps this is, I felt that if I continued to do it and got better and better, I would make money. Now, did I, in my heart of hearts, want to write a best-selling novel? Of course I did. Did I end up doing that? No, but that's okay. I have really blossomed in the space that the universe intended me. So this bolt of lightning came out and you said, be a dog trainer. Now that is pretty unique. I know from our background in pet communities and things that, a lot of pet stuff. I mean, pets are really a big deal today, whereas they weren't when I was a young girl. But in that world, where does dog training fit? Everyone has a preconceived notion of how the dog should behave in their home.
Hmm.
And so what is your, like, how do you do the dog training? What is your passion for helping people with their animals, especially their dogs? I mean, it sometimes translates, you don't train your cat, but still, you begin to understand, right? You begin to understand. How do you do that? Do you go in people's homes? Do you have them come to you? How does that work?
Well, I spent the first 15 years of my career going into people's homes, doing private lessons, which is the fodder for my novel, my first novel, and really kind of enmeshing myself in people's lives where, you know, I would learn exactly what they needed in their household. And that, I think, is critical. It's not this umbrella, this is obedience, which I don't even like that word because it sounds so like 1950s schoolgirl, like be good. I prefer manners. But in any case, you know, helping people find what works for them in their household, that was the most important thing. So, you know, not an obedient dog, again, the word, I wanted to help them have a well-behaved dog. And the difference is the obedient dog is doing it almost compulsory because they have to. A well-behaved dog is doing it because they know how to make good choices. You set the dog up to understand this is what works for me, this is what doesn't work. And it's in my best interest. I get what I need when I do what works. So, you know,
I like the word manners. I think that is a really great way to describe how to have your pet behave, is to give them good manners. So the book, let's just talk about the book for a couple of minutes, because this book, Life on a Leash, on the Leash, is really a great summer read. So folks, if you want something that you can read and really enjoy, go out and get Victoria Shade's Life on a Leash. And I got a little bookmark with mine. Because it's a educational kind of peek into the life of a dog trainer who goes into people's homes. And I found that fascinating, Victoria. I found some of the descriptions of people who may have been a mesh of clients or whatever. I mean, we do that when we write novels. We use ourselves and our family, and, you know, but it's generally, it's not just one person. Okay, this is the, no, it isn't. It's a way of saying this is what the reader needs to know. And so anyway, it's fascinating because every household is different, and yet every household wants that dog to have those good manners. So we don't want them to bark at the door. I saw a little thing on Facebook where there's a mat, a welcome mat, and it says, no need to knock, we know you're here, and it shows 3 dachshunds.
I haven't seen that. That's great.
So awesome, great, and yet, you know the sense. I'm sure you've had it. You go up to the door and knock a ring bell, and these especially little dogs, and big dogs do it too, they come to the door screaming and yelling at you. And that's what they do, but they don't have to, because that's where the good manners come in, I think. Tell me a little bit more about how you came, or how you trained yourself, where you learned, and then how you continue to learn, because as a speaker, author, and dog trainer, I have no doubt that you continue to learn as you go.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's the fun of this journey, is always increasing the skill set. You know, that's what keeps us waking up every morning. So in terms of how I started, I apprenticed with a trainer, and I thought I had done my research. Unfortunately, the trainer that I apprenticed with was still using very old school methodologies, choke chains, you know, compulsory, do it or else. And the whole time I worked with him, I just had this sense, I'm like, this doesn't feel right. But this was 20 years ago. This was before, right as this whole positive dog training explosion was starting. And it was actually a really exciting time to be in the business, because up until that point, it had always been, you know, I am the alpha, do what I say, or, you know, suffer the consequences. So this gut feeling, combined with the research I was doing on my own, made me realize that there was this other methodology that I really loved called clicker training. And I had asked the trainer about it, and he said, oh, that's for puppies. That's not something you do with grown dogs. So in the meantime, I had a Boston Terrier, and he had given me my very own choke chain, and he's like, try leash walking with your Boston Terrier at home. So in this compulsory old school type of training, there's something called a correction. And a correction is what you do, I hate even saying it, when the dog does something wrong, what you perceive as wrong. And in leash walking, that might be forging ahead. Now, in my world, a leash walk is fun, it's exploratory, you get to sniff, but in old school world, it's you maintain position right next to me. So following the instructions I had been given, I gave my dog, my cute little dog, a correction. Jerk to the neck. And he looked at me like, what did you just do to me? How could you do this to me? And in that moment, I could almost tear up now. I'm like, I never want to do this again. Never, never, never. So in my research with clicker training, I said, well, let me just try. Let me just see what happens. Like this dog, Zeke, my Boston Terrier, was brilliant, but we could not master rollover. And I was doing what a lot of people were doing, rolling his body. And his focus was on my hands, not what on his body was doing. So I took my hands completely out of the picture, used the clicker to mark the exact moments he was doing small little movements that looked like a roll. And we built this very difficult, I'm not doing it to, he was doing it probably within 15 minutes. And in that moment, I'm like, this is it. This is my methodology. And I never went back to the old school stuff.
So that's awesome. And then are you suggesting that we can teach an old dog new tricks?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I worked with a farm dog who had lived outside his whole life. He was 10 years old. Brilliant. That's one of those old school or like old ideas that it kills me, because dogs love learning. If you do fun training, if you do clicker training, all positive, it's such a joyful process for them. So dogs of all ages, 8-week-old puppies, 6-week-old puppies, to, fat old guys laying on the couch, they can all learn something new.
I love it. I really think that that's an important message, because so many people, certainly the people that I know, are into adoption. So I think adoption is so important, and you can get that poodle or Great Dane or German Shepherd or Boston Terrier at a shelter if you so desire. But within the adoption, dog trainers like yourself are so important, because when you adopt that dog, you don't know specifically where it might have come from. If it was on the street and someone picked it up, where did it start? Was it always there? Did it come from a home where they gave it up for some reason or another? The point being that it behooves the human being to learn how to interact with the dog, rather than expecting the dog to do, well, it's 4 years old, it should know how to do this. No, what if it never learned? How do you feel about that? Is there advice you can give folks who are going to adopt? I like to say that there's a like get used to each other period.
Yeah.
So don't adopt it, bring it home, and in 3 days say, well, it keeps peeing on the rug, and put it back. So talk about that a little bit.
There definitely is a phase, a honeymoon period, and it can go either way. It can be this, oh my God, I love this dog, it's perfect, he's perfect. Or it can be the opposite side, where what did I do? What did I bring home? And this is an acclimation period for the dog. He is learning to fit into your world. And if he's coming from a shelter situation, it's a traumatic change. Even though it's a change for the better, it's hard to figure out these are the new rules. So patience is so important. Any dog, this is just a little aside, but any dog, no matter how old it is, that comes into a new home environment needs to be treated like an 8-week-old puppy that isn't potty trained, isn't shoe trained. Don't make assumptions. You were saying, 4 years old, he must know it. Don't assume. Even my dogs are not perfect, but you take him into you take her into a different environment, and there is a chance she might say, oh, I'm just going to mark over here because, it's okay in this house. So you just have to assume that the dog is not fully potty trained, and, keep on top of it. Don't let it out of your sight so it can chew up shoes. You're basically setting the dog up to win rather than setting it up to fail.
Yes. And I once read that years ago. I read, excuse me. I read that people should look at when they bring a dog home, regardless whether it's an adopted dog or say you took over your friend's dog because they couldn't keep whatever situation. Look at it from the dog's view, because if you get down on the floor, what is down there for the dog to get into mischief?
Right.
Yeah. And I wrote a short story years ago that got published, and it was about that perception. And very quick, my kids were little and it was Easter, and I hid the Easter baskets around the house. And so you know what happened in the morning. There was the Easter. God bless the dog that ate the chocolate and didn't get really sick. But I realized after that I'm looking at her and she's looking at me like, what's the problem? And I'm thinking, so you thought because it was on the floor, it was yours. I get it. I get it. It was my fault. It wasn't her fault. I mean, everything below a certain level belongs to the dog. So I love it. I love the way you think. And so in the thinking of positive training and clicker training, and do you believe, or do you ever venture into the concept of pets are people? And while we all consider pets as part of our family, you know, we treat them like our kids. What do you think about all that?
Oh, that's such a loaded comment. It is. I mean, I am a dog mom. So, and that's, you know, some people are grossed out by that, but they are my kids. We have dogs, not kids. That's the route we opted to take. I think the problem runs into, you know, you run into a problem when dogs as children, when you allow mischief because of that. So, or you excuse behaviors because, oh, you know, that's okay. Like, for example, if you have a tiny little Yorkie, and it barks at everyone, and if someone tries to get close, it growls. Oh, it's okay. He's just, you know, a little thing. No, manners apply across the board. So I guess, you know, if you take this whole idea of children's spoiled little dog and allow misbehavior because of it, then that's a challenge. I'm not sure if I'm getting to the heart of the question.
Well, I think that's a big help, because it is a loaded question. It is a big topic of conversation in many places. And one of the reasons I bring it up is because I interviewed, I had a conversation with Deborah Hamilton, who is a friend of mine, and she works with people to pre-plan their dog's care if anything happens to them. And here's the problem with thinking and treating and acting like your dog is your child. If something happens to you, nobody else is going to do that. So now the dog becomes a dog. The dog becomes a piece of property by law. And so now you have failed this animal because you were so wound up. I mean, if it was a child, none of the things, you know, the state or your friends or your family, everybody will be running to take care of. But if it's a dog or a cat, so I just kind of want to bring that up. But I think you're right about the folks who go to that, sometimes that really, really deep level of, well, this is my baby and nothing she does is wrong. I'm a mom, I'm a dog, cat mom or whatever, but my grandkids do come first. So the dog needs to eat. The dog needs to, they also need to learn how to be with the dog, right?
Right. So critical.
So when my kids were little, we had a dog, and I remember them saying to me, Mom, if the house was on fire, who would you save first, us or the dog? I'd say, well, I'd save the dog, because don't you learn in school how to get out of the house when it's on fire? So that's crazy. But before we end this wonderful, wonderful conversation, I do want to talk about the book.
Okay.
Number one, as a book coach, I want to tell you that I love the title.
Thank you.
This is a really, it really works with the story. And folks, this is a great story. This is a fun read. This is a take to the beach kind of a book. And it's in many ways, it will help you understand your animal better, but it also gives you a glimpse into the life of a dog trainer. And you wanted that to happen. That was one of the reasons that you wrote the book. Is that correct, Victoria?
Well, it's my career for those 15 years of going into people's homes. I realized that every time I walked into the door, it was a new cast of characters, a new adorable fuzzy friend, and new drama, honestly, because people called trainers when something's either about to go wrong or going wrong. So there was always that element of, oh gosh, what am I walking into? So it just felt so ripe for storytelling. And none of the people are actual clients at all. Even the legal disclaimer in the front says as much. But, you know, as you mentioned, there are scenarios that lend themselves to being fictionalized. And so my goal with the book was definitely, obviously, to entertain. It's lighthearted women's fiction, but also I wanted to weave some messages in the story. The message of positive training, how important it is. The message of foster and adoption, how life-changing that can be. And no spoilers. And also pit bull advocacy, which is hugely important to me. I love the cover. I wish this was a pit bull, but this is, this is indicative of all of the dogs she works with. But the main character, Cora's dog, is a pit bull, and he's perfect. He is like, in romance novels, that's usually the man that's the swoony, like, oh my gosh, he's so perfect. In this book, it's the dog. This pit bull is an ambassador for all pit bulls, and her goal is to help people understand that this, their reputation is not earned, and they're wonderful.
Yeah, you're giving me goosebumps. It's so true. It's so true. And it does work in the book, because I forgot that he was a pit bull in the sense of this dog that we hear so much about with all that bad reputation. And it was, to me, it was just this wonderful dog that she had.
Yay. Oh, that's great.
And and that she loved. And, every now and then I go, oh yeah, he's a pit bull. And gosh, if the world could just accept that it's a people problem and not the pit bull problem, not the breed problem. But you did such a great job. I'm going to put it up again. Life on the Leash. Wonderful story, wonderful romance.
Thank you.
I mean, good ladies, it's a good summer read. You should get it and share it. And so, Victoria, I can tell you this has been such a good time, but also a great conversation. I mean, one of the things I would like to end with is you talked a little bit in the beginning about research. So when you were starting your journey and your wonderful path to being a dog trainer who gets to be an author and a speaker and, on Animal Planet and all those kinds of things, you researched. So it was a smart thing. I tell people all the time to do that, but talk about how you came about understanding you should do the research, and then a little bit about the research. Was Google your best friend?
Oh gosh, I love research. Research is everything. So how did I come to know that I had to research? Admitting what you don't know is the first step to mastering what you don't know. So there was so much to know in terms of dog training. It's incredibly dense. So yes, Google was my best friend, as well as reaching out to experts. There are so many experts that are willing to support people. Sometimes, the cliche of, I want to pick your brain, that can drive people a little bit crazy. But if you go to someone and say, this is a specific question I have, and I would love it if you could answer it. It's finite, they can get back to you, and you can get the information you need. And, it wasn't just research for the whole dog training venture. I researched finding an agent when I, was working on getting my book deal. That's the very first step. I researched publishing houses. So that, there's the dog training path, there's the writer path, and I'm actually getting ready to jump off on another career path because we're never done. And I'm in the research stage right now on that one. So yeah, just be a sponge. It's
Yes,
fun.
it's fun. I like it. I like that. So you're not going to tell us the new career path or what you might be. Just we should wait and do this again when you're ready.
I would do this every day with you. This is great. I know I'll tease it. I'll tease it. So you mentioned speaking, and I haven't done it specifically in a while. You know, I've done videos and things for various pet sites, but it's taking all of the knowledge that I've gained in my years doing all these different things, distilling it and helping people figure out how they can make it work for them. So I'm going to be doing more speaking on that topic.
I think that's amazingly wonderful because I also tell my women to do that, to speak. And many of them don't aspire to be a national speaker, but they can certainly speak locally. And in the end, for me, the goal of speaking is to help people learn something because you've got a background or you have something you can help them with. It isn't to go out and say, hey, look at me, I'm great. It's to go out and say, you know, you can do this too. So I love that, and I can't wait to hear more about it. I can't wait to see you. I hope you're writing another book. And
March 2020.
Awesome,
my next
awesome.
Yeah.
So
Who Rescued Who? I just got my cover. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm so excited. Who Rescued Who? March of 2020 with Berkeley Publishing.
You let me know and put me on your list. So
thank you.
I need to be able to help share that and share you. And ladies, this is exactly what Nurturing Big Ideas Today, Smart Conversations is about. It's about women who had that bolt of lightning or whatever you want to call it. And then they did the research and they did the hard work. And like Victoria, they took the steps. And sometimes, as you said earlier, you talk to someone who wasn't as much of a help to you. We have that's how some things are. But Victoria is open to helping people. I'm open to helping people.
Yeah.
And that's how we're going to end today on Nurturing Big Ideas Today. Victoria, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Yvonne.